Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, development in the Niger Delta region rests on the foundation of security, and feel very happy to delve into one of the high points of this pre-summit technical session. May I have the honor, privilege of introducing and inviting on stage the lead presenter of today, Madam Ribadu, National Security Advisor, NSA, ably represented by Mrs. Asariti Iroma Grace.
You are watching the Niger Delta Stakeholders Summit 2024, of course, holding here in Port Harcourt. Is an engagement which brings together all critical stakeholders in the region to discuss how to deepen development and transform the region under the new board and leadership of the Commission.
On security and development of the Niger Delta as a sub-theme of the event, renewed hope for sustainable development in the Niger Delta. Firstly, let me apologize for the unavoidable absence of my boss, the National Security Advisor, Madam Ribadu, who has authorized that I represent him in this section. My name, you already know, is Asariti Iroma Grace. I'm the SC of Energy Security and Niger Delta Affairs. The chairman of this occasion, His Excellency Governor Hope Uzodimma, Executive Governor of Imo State, ably represented by his amiable Deputy Governor, Chairman and the Governing Board of Niger Delta Development Commission, Mr. Chinedu Ebi, the Managing Director of Niger Delta Development Commission, Chief Samuel Obuku, member of the National Assembly present here, dignitaries, our royal fathers, the Joint Youth Council, and our mothers that are also here, gentlemen of the press, please permit me to stand on existing protocol. I present to you very delighted to be here today as a special guest of honor at this all-important summit. The theme of this summit, which is Hope for Sustainable Development in the Niger Delta, could not have been more apt given the effort being made towards the Renewed Hope initiative of the current administration of the President and Commander of Chief of Army Force, Federal Republic of Nigeria, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFRO, in the last 1 year. When I, Nuhu Ribadu, was appointed by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFRO, to the Office of the National Security Advisor, established under Section 132 of the Constitution to provide strategic advice on matters relating to Niger Delta, three things were clear in my mind about the Niger Delta. They are that the Niger Delta must be clearly captured in a more active and determined way as the national security priorities in the vision of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFRO, and his Renewed Hope agenda. That within the President's broader and long-term national security vision, which includes moving internal security from the current posture from kinetic to non-kinetic operation, I will emphasize security from human and economic development point of view to deepen democratic culture in the Niger Delta. In view of the above two central ideas, I am determined to set up for the first time in the Office of the National Security Advisor a security model for the Niger Delta. Although this which can, as stakeholders, take a critical look at a peculiar security challenges of the region in a focused and professional way. Accordingly, my team on Niger Delta, led by my special advisor on energy security and Niger Delta affairs, is currently working closely with the governors of the region and the presidency. They will eventually include all stakeholders of the region, such as community leaders, traditional rulers, women, youth and students, government security agencies, federal government agencies relevant to the region, businesses, civil society, people organization, and media. We will have a very robust engagement to support the President articulate a comprehensive presidential policy on Niger Delta security. We should expect that when this fully materializes, the President will most likely personally present policy guidance that will define his security management posture for the sustainable development of the Niger Delta under the renewed hope agenda. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, let me give you a clue into the emerging policy direction. To apply an appetizer into the thinking of the President, flowing from my office and the ongoing consultation with governors from the region, the President recognizes that Niger Delta region provides an estimated 75% of Nigerian foreign exchange earning. Also evident that most of Nigerian maritime domain and international coastline outside of Lagos, all of which are within the Gulf of Guinea and are in the coast of Niger Delta, and this region is critical to the development of Nigeria blue economy. The political and the socio-economic progress of Nigeria is therefore heavily tied to the social stability of the Niger Delta. Before 2024, 1.8 million barrels per day production quota was allotted to Nigeria by OPEC. However, only about 1.5 million barrels per day with a shortfall of 600,000 million per day is produced. This is due to socio-economic issues that relate to security, such as crude oil theft, pipeline vandalization, environmentally harmful artisanal refinery, sea piracy, and youth militancy. The President is deeply concerned that the purpose of the federal agency, which we know are supposed to respond to socio-economic issues, stabilize and integrate the region, is not proving successful. It's not proving successful. If we cannot produce an allotted quota, that is why a collaborative policy and intervention framework must be necessary. The drivers of conflict and insecurity in the Niger Delta. The Office of the National Security Advisor is consulting widely, collecting and building a body of knowledge, information, and data that will eventually help the Mr. President prescribe policy and create laws that will address in a more holistic and coordinated way the security and the conflict situation in the Niger Delta so as to enhance sustainable development. The key areas that my office is interested in include the following: policy that responds to your people's cultural and historical sensibilities. Niger Delta is a region of ethnically diverse people. We recognize that you are Republican and independent in your psychological traits. Culturally, leadership among you is symbolic and remains stable only when it reflects a high degree of social consensus. The sense of independence or autonomy and at the same time interdependence reflect in the history and the nature of your past and present internal and external conflict. It can be observed that such conflict is associated with strife for political, cultural, and economic autonomy or independence among your group and institution outside of yourself. Therefore, the failure to understand and respond favorably in the policy of your sensibilities generated a lot of insecurity. All these and more reveal your culturally formed traits, shape your behavior, and inform the nature of current conflict in the region that has affected our collective security as a nation. Your communities and your groups and their expressed view and desire will therefore be key to policy making for peace and social stability. The ecology and the environmental pollution. Niger Delta is the world's 10th largest and African largest deltatic ecosystem. It is ecologically highly diverse, complex, sensitive, and logically challenging. Your people are braved, survived, and made their homes out of this ecosystem. The oil and gas business and its negative externalities place a lot of pressure on your physical and social ecosystem and the people's livelihood. This has introduced an additional layer to the nature and context for current conflict dynamics, as pollution to air, water, vegetation, and land has implication for health, livelihood, ecosystem sustainability, and future survival. With demonstrable consequence of national security, the President hopes to make a policy for sustainable development that addresses the implication of environmental issue to security as a central theme. The socioeconomic context to security and conflict. Nigeria centralizes top-down, rent-dependent, and patronage-driven political economy, led by and funded on oil and gas industry, has tended to pressure and dislocate traditional economy and livelihood of the rural people of the Niger Delta. This is due to the following: livelihood losses from environmental pollution, migratory labor towards fast modernization economy of your region, which displaces you in your traditional economy. The constraint placed on you for access, for opportunities and decision-making process, and for effective participation in the oil and gas economy of your communities. Social tension generated by the policies centered around ownership, control, and management of oil and gas by subnational stakeholders, particularly the communities. The nature of the political economy and the socio-economic fallout provide another important layer of conflict and security, with the implication of social stability and national integration that imparts national security. We're also looking at the culture and the value contents to security and conflict. The traditionally welcoming and hospitable communities of the Niger Delta at the onset of oil and gas industry have turned hostile, including aligning with rogue elements at all levels. This proved to be the result of the progressive loss of culture seen in family, communities, and society values that underpin deep ecology and sustainable development. Every form of imaginable corrupt practices and behavior now form part of our social pattern that generate conflict and erode social harmony. Many attribute this to degenerating national leadership, political culture, and inability of the communities to cope and survive under happening changes in a way that preserves traditional value system. Mr. President considered this as critical to rebuilding the most important infrastructure of heart and mind upon which all other development depends. The government response to this. One more important layer of challenge that continues to inform conflict is the response of government to situation in the region. Laws, policies, regulation, behavioral practice, agents charged with development and model employed by these agencies, including values and choice of leadership, have all tended to create systems for patronage, entitlement, and benefit captured rather than the productive and value-creating economy and socio-political system. This confine intended benefit from reaching communities at the bottom of the socio-economic pyramid. Attempts to complain or resist are often responded to with heavy-handed military solutions that create and sustain tension. The government has policy solution. To solve current conflict solution and transition towards a more stable, harmonious, and better national integrated people and communities of the Niger Delta, overarchingly, this will involve implementing development on collaborative partnership, framework for stakeholders, and supported on a clearly defined, spatially well-planned socioeconomic intervention, intelligently led security and policing response, which include the following. 1, pushing a strong kinetic security perspective that increases the risks of perpetrators of oil theft, artisanal refinery, sea piracy, and armed militancy. Pursuing a collaborative partnership with stakeholders for socio-economic development with national security as focal purpose. Promote a reorientation in values, in ideology, support of national harmony and integration. Engage professionals and technically supported incorporated host communities, accompanying as trained and regimented guide for critical assets, supervised by government security agencies under the governor in a long run. Deepening community participation in hydrocarbon business, broadening the base and capacity of policing at sub-national level. Conclusion. Sustainable peace, security, and social stabilities in the Niger Delta region that increasingly move from kinetic engagement to non-kinetic engagement will flow from coordinating the responsibilities of relevant organs of public sector, private sector, development sector, civil society, and media towards clearly articulating and better planned understanding of the nexus between security and development. Accordingly, to achieve optimal outcome of set security priorities and objectives, Mr. President's thinking as a Democrat, for his Renew Hope agenda on Niger Delta security shall derive its legitimacy and credibility from listening to the people, their government, at state and local government level, leadership of community, businesses and civil society, building consensus and creating systems that will address identified limitations. As my office, the National Security Officer, puts this process in place, we hope to get into action, bring all stakeholders to make contribution. Until that is fully in place, kindly be reassured that Niger Delta has assumed a new sense of meaning and priorities in my office. With best luck, we will get there. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening.
Thank you very much. Our best regards to Madam Nuhu Ribadu, the National Security Advisor of the Federation. Thank you very much. We appreciate you. Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, earlier while the professor was speaking here, he alluded to the fact that our next speaker is one of the brightest in terms of being the managing director of NDDC. And for me, by putting him on the same pedestal as Chief Timian Laibe is an amazing compliment. He represents the new face and philosophy of NDDC. He's imbued with new thinking. He conquers new frontiers. He evolves new partnerships. As far as he's concerned, see me and you see the new Niger Delta. Let me welcome here the Managing Director of NDDC, Chief Samuel Obuku, PhD.
Your Excellency, the Governor of Imo State, here represented by Her Excellency, the Deputy Governor, our special guest of honor, the NSA represented here, our National Assembly members, starting with the distinguished senators and House of Reps members, the Chairman of the Governing Board of NDDC, Executive Directors, members of the Board of NDDC, let me recognize the coordinator of the Amnesty Program, top government functionaries that are here, royal fathers, leaders of ethnic nationalities, women leaders, youth leaders, the press, ladies and gentlemen. I just want to make it clear that this is Niger Delta Stakeholder Summit. It is not an NDDC summit. Just like as our mother Ann Kubrick said, she said NDDC is an interventionist agency and not just a developmental agency. Being an interventionist agency, we thought we have to intervene in the gap of bringing our people together. Bringing our people together to discuss the challenges we are facing and also discuss the prospects ahead of us. Hence, this summit was, the theme of the summit was now named Renewed Hope for Sustainable Development in the Niger Delta. The present administration has renewed hope as its mantra. So as the people of Niger Delta, we thought it was also ideal to key in to the renewed hope mantra. And one of the cardinal pillars of this administration is stakeholders engagement. So we in NDDC, we thought being the platform of where we can bring the entire Niger Delta people together to discuss the issues of Niger Delta, educate the people of the Niger Delta on the programs and visions of this administration, we had to provide this platform for the people of the Niger Delta. Providing this platform for the people of the Niger Delta is an opportunity for us to see people ventilate themselves, just like as we heard one of our fathers spoke earlier. And at the end of the day, for us to come together to have a communique that will be the opinion and the stand of the people of the Niger Delta. That is the essence of this summit. At this point, the event today is the technical session. The technical session is actually the most important aspect of this summit, because the technical session will give opportunity to participants to also contribute their voice and their opinion to what will form the communique, while we work towards having the main event on the 12th, which is on Friday, where we're expected to have our former president as chairman of the occasion and the president of the Senate as the chief host of that event, and also all our governors in attendance, our ministers, other public office holders, our National Assembly members, and every leader of thought in the Niger Delta. That same day we have our father, Chief Ike Clark, as the father of the day, and our mother, the First Lady, as the guest of honor, and Mr. President as a special guest of honor. I thought I should use this opportunity to give a little brief of this summit, because this summit, it is to aggregate and also evaluate how far we have gone. It is an opportunity for us to look behind to see if we have made progress or not. But I want to believe that from the standpoint of where we started from agitation to this point, right now the agitation has moved from being on the streets, carrying arms, to intellectual agitation. This, what we are doing here today, forms part of the intellectual agitation, where we have to put our voice together to also request from the government what we think suits the people of the Niger Delta. Having said that, for us in the NDDC, we also believe that we are privileged to serve the people of the Niger Delta, because what we are enjoying today is the sweat of others, some of them still living, some of them dead. We thank them for their courage and their sweat to ensure that the government gives the people of the Niger Delta this palliative of the NDDC. We have the palliative of the amnesty program, we have the palliative of the Ministry of Niger Delta, and the government has given us opportunities. I know the people of the Niger Delta still want more. As much as we are looking for more, it is also very, very important for us to manage what we have judiciously, so that when we ask for more, they will look back and look inside the pot and know that, yes, we are doing well, so they give us more. So for us, as Board of Management of the Niger Delta Development Commission, we came together, we looked behind, and we also realized that in the past we have made mistakes, and in those mistakes we have also made progress and success too. So we decided to harness the success that have been made so far, put them together to improve on them, while we are also correcting the mistakes of the past. And one of the gaps we saw as part of the mistakes was issues of policy. The policies you put in place are the policies that will also guarantee the success of every administration. And we decided to come up with the rewind to rebirth policy. The rewind to rebirth policy was to look behind and also see how far we have come, where we are, and what we need to do. Who do we need to consult? Who do we need to bring back into the team to improve on what we want to do? And that policy is the reason why in whatever we do, you see we move along with the previous leadership of the Niger Delta Development Commission. We try to consult our stakeholders, and that is why we are here today. Rewind to rebirth, because we are rebirthing the new NDDC and the renewed NDDC. Now, after the rewind to rebirth, we came to the Triple T policy of transiting from transaction to transformation. We believe it is our responsibility to transform the Niger Delta region. And in transforming the Niger Delta region, we must also put up policies that are transformative, policies that are transparent, because it is only transparency that can guarantee transformation. With that, we came up with the Project Hope in taking care of our youths, because we looked at the past and we realized that our youths, so many opportunities have been given in the past, sponsored by NDDC, but looking at our records, we realize that only few persons have been benefiting. Few persons keep benefiting from the same policies, and these policies were not getting to the right people. And because it was not getting to the right people, people assumed that NDDC did nothing in the past. So with the Project Hope, it is an opportunity for youths to register with our Project Hope platform, that we are building a database for youths and the entrepreneurs in the region, so that we can help them, meet them at the areas of their competence. So whatever program we have that we're doing, ranging from IT to agriculture and tailoring and every other skill that we're going to develop, we ensure that these skills are going to meet the people in their areas of competence. Just to let you know, I was discussing with the coordinator of Amnesty, and he told me that they've trained over 10,000 persons that are still redundant. It is very, very possible that these 10,000 persons that are redundant, they are trained in areas where they don't have passion. So we must also learn that when we want to train people, we must train them in areas where they have passion. Hence, in the database, it is being provided that you must also indicate your area of interest. So if we are picking you, it is sure that it is an area where you have passion. Because in the past, you tell the MD to nominate 10 persons. I nominate just friends and family members. These persons, I don't know if they are really interested in what you're telling me to nominate them for. Hence, it will produce no result. But with this, we are sure that we're going to get results. That is part of the transformation that we're bringing into the NDDC. Now, having said that, we're also encouraging youths across the Niger Delta to still take opportunity to register in the Project Hope database. Because going forward, we may not be talking to you if you come to our office, we'll only meet you in the database. That gives opportunity to everybody, whether you are in Akure, whether you are in Owerri, whether you are in Asaba. That means from the database, you can have that opportunity without knowing anybody in the NDDC headquarters. Now we also came up with the commerce and industry, which we had to partner with the Niger Delta Chamber of Commerce. Because in that, we thought there's also the need to support our entrepreneurs in the region. And in supporting the entrepreneurs in the region, how do you identify entrepreneurs? We thought the Niger Delta Chamber of Commerce should be able to register its own entrepreneurs and let us deal with their members, So the members will form the bulk of the entrepreneurs in the region. So with that, we are going to meet entrepreneurs, the genuine ones, not portfolio businessmen, whom when given money, they assume it is free money. So we are doing that, and we are also going to do that as a tripartite partnership, also bringing the Bank of Industry. So anybody who benefits, you must be qualified to benefit from it so that money is not wasted because money is scarce. So these are the policies we are putting in place in the renewed Niger Delta under transparent process so that everybody that is qualified can have access to benefit. It will not be an idea of who you know. That time, I think, is of the past. And with all that, we are now looking at projects in NDDC. Projects in NDDC, I can assure you, for those who have done projects recently in NDDC, you realize that NDDC is not NDDC of yesterday. I have people who have come to meet me who have said they have issues with our consultants who are inspecting their project, and I can assure you, you cannot beat our system right now, because the system we have put in place are systems that will ensure that it protects the institution and also protect the funds we have. In the past, people have said all sorts of things about NDDC, where contracts are substandard and the rest of them. But I challenge you, come back. You will not have that kind of situation again. So all these structures we are putting in place just to ensure that NDDC has a new image and a new name. In the past, even the contract award process of NDDC, you realize that people talk about fake contracts and the rest of them, because people used to fake the award letters of NDDC. We have also taken a step further by improving on our award letters to ensure that our award letters have serial numbers and barcodes, and it has a database. So when you bring a fake award, it will never pass through the system. These are all the things we have put in place in NDDC. We are doing all this so that nobody will challenge us with issues of non-performance because we just want to waste government fund. We are doing all this to protect the institution and to ensure that whatever little fund that is given to us is judiciously used for the benefit of the people. And to culminate this, we have decided to engage KPMG to design internal corporate governance system for us. Because one of the major gaps we saw in NDDC was that NDDC was vulnerable because it has no governance structure. So KPMG right now, just 2 weeks ago, they submitted the preliminary report of the governance advisory, which they are putting together for NDDC, and also developing SOPs. This is going to regulate us internally and also regulate us externally. So people who call from outside to say, NDDC do this, you also look at our SOPs, our governance structure, and you know what is possible and what is not possible. Because funny enough, I sit down in the office, I see people walk from everywhere and come, they bring proposals. This is what we want to do. Ordinarily, you know, organizations do not work that way. For you to bring a proposal, that organization must check if actually it is part of the policies of that organization. But where there is no governance structure, anybody can come to NDDC to say, we want to train widows, we want to train this, we want to train that. But with that, is going to define and specify. Because, you know, NDDC was actually formed by, as an interventionist agency without limited role. So the role is open-ended, but it is left for us to also define what we can do and what we cannot do and make it a policy document. That is why we are doing that, so that we can also be internally regulated. So when we go beyond our bounds, you can also challenge us that, look, this is what your rule book says, why are you doing this? So we are doing all this so that we, as those in the hem, will also be regulated too, so that anybody who comes in as MD of NDDC cannot take advantage of those loopholes to mismanage the place. So we are putting all that together. With the guidance of Mr. President and with the directives of Mr. President of what we should do for the NDDC, we are doing all this so that Mr. President will be seen as the president that has actually come to make the difference in the Niger Delta. Recently, you are aware, we commissioned some legacy projects in the Niger Delta, starting from the Okitipupa transmission station, which give light to about 5 local governments that have been in darkness for the past 15 years. It was a project that was started before we came in. We decided to finish it, and we also commissioned the Obianembe Road and the Ibno Road project with the bridge, which had about 600 meters bridge long. All those projects were projects that were started long ago, but we had to complete them and commission these projects. This is also in line with Mr. President's directive of charging us to complete all abandoned NDDC projects. But I just want to let us understand that the reason why people have not seen us touching some projects, because I know everybody have this in their mind, that NDDC, this project is abandoned in my street, this project is abandoned in my community. Why are you people not doing it? We must understand that there is issue of variation. Because you cannot just go and touch a project no matter how rich you are. If you have all the trillions, we cannot just go and touch some projects and just decide to complete them based on the current price. Some of these projects, as at when they were awarded, dollar is not what it is today. The price of cement is not what it is today. Inflation is taking place, and this project needs variation. And most of these projects were awarded through the budget. And a project that is awarded through the budget, not until you have a new budget that has that project inside, for you to now do the variation that will go through BPP and go to Federal Executive Council, you cannot touch those projects. Hence, Mr. President has directed that he is going to complete those projects through us, and it is a charge, and that is why you can see that in the budget of NDDC, there is a portion of borrowing 1 trillion, which is supposed to be tied to those specific projects. So nobody should think that maybe those monies are going to be given to the management of NDDC to spend. The budget has it that those projects are going to, that fund is going to be tied to those specific projects. It is based on the passion of Mr. President, because Mr. President himself is not happy that Niger Delta is where it is today. And he wants to be that hero that will make that difference. That is why he's pushing us. That is why he has also put a minister in place that is also guiding us and giving us those directions. Having said this, NDDC is doing so many things recently. You have also seen our medical outreach, which we did, which was very, very successful. The Operation Light Up the Niger Delta has been very, very successful. It has reduced criminality in most of our communities, and it has also improved commerce in these communities, because most of these communities are not connected to the national grid. Hence, we cannot just keep them in darkness. So we came up with Operation Light Up the Niger Delta. NDDC is also working towards mitigating the imminent cholera that is coming up, because we know that cholera is on its way. We cannot pretend that we are not seeing. So NDDC by Thursday will be commissioning ambulances that will be distributed to the various states in the Niger Delta as part of our support for the cholera that is coming. And NDDC is also procuring cholera vaccines that will be distributed to states too. That is part of our intervention. We don't just want to wait for us to be told. We are only being proactive as a management and as a board, so that our people will know that we are here working for them. So I can tell you that NDDC is working for you. NDDC is working for the people of the Niger Delta. NDDC is willing to partner with the state government in the Niger Delta to ensure that we achieve more. NDDC is not in competition with any state. NDDC is here as a partner for development. And just recently, we had a meeting with the governors of the states of the Niger Delta, first of its kind, for us to have a meeting with our advisory committee. Many boards have actually tried to dodge that because they needed absolute power. But we have realized that absolute power itself does not only corrupt absolutely, but absolute power, sometimes you can also crash. And because we don't want to crash, we need the guidance and advice from our governors, because they are the elected representatives of our people to represent the various states. We want to work with them. We want to partner with them to ensure that there is success in the Niger Delta. So where we need to put funds together to develop projects in these various states, we are willing to do that. So we are very, very open for partnership. So I'm using this opportunity to tell our state governments, do not misunderstand some of our actions. Where you don't understand, call us, let us discuss. We are not in competition at all. NDDC is also open to partner with even federal agencies. Recently, we are speaking with NSITF for training of youths in the Niger Delta. We're already going into partnership with them, which we have signed that partnership for training. So we are open to various government agencies for partnership, and we are open to even private institutions and corporate bodies that are willing to partner with the NDDC just for the sole purpose of developing the Niger Delta. We are also partnering with the IOCs too. Recently, we are going into partnership with NLNG. We have signed the MOU. We are going into the final stage of picking particular projects which we are going to jointly fund. We have looked at projects like the Bonny Ring Road, which is an NDDC project that has been abandoned because the contractor could not have access to sand. So we are partnering with NLNG to complete that. We are looking at the Ka-Ataba Bridge, which is supposed to be one of our longest bridge projects of about 1.2 kilometers, but 60% done. We are looking at that one. We are looking at the Okrika-Burukiri Road Bridge and Project, which we also want to complete. So we are looking at these signature projects, which the NLNG wants to partner with NDDC to complete. Just like as we completed the Ogbia-Nembe Road, which was a partnership between SPDC and NDDC. Now we are also challenging Chevron that NDDC is ready. Come back to the table. Let us complete the Chevron, the Madino Escravos Road and Bridge project. We are ready to partner with you to do it. We are also saying the federal government should also bring Chevron and NDDC on one table. Let us discuss. So all these NDDC is willing to do. In areas where NDDC has failed, that is the reason why we are here for this summit. It is left for you to advise us. It is left for you to tell us what to do to make your situation better. It is not for you to go on the streets protesting. It is not for you to go to the television criticizing. It is not for you to write in the pages of newspaper insulting your leaders. This is an opportunity for you to vent what you think will serve you better and what you think we should do for you, not only NDDC, even the state governments, because it is a Niger Delta summit, not just NDDC. So our opinion should not only be directed to NDDC, our opinion should be directed to NDDC, the state government, other agencies that are serving the people of the Niger Delta, and also our political office holders who are also from the Niger Delta. Thank you, and thank you.
Managing Director of NDDC there, you could see the passion in him, expressing the Commission's willingness to collaborate with relevant stakeholders in the region to drive development. And of course, for the Managing Director, this board and management of the Commission is willing to do things differently in order to bring about rapid transformation across the Niger Delta region.
Together one more time for the MDCO, Chief Samuel Iboku, PhD. Thank you. And still in the discourse of sustainable development in the Niger Delta region, we'll be going on to the presentation on the 7 pillars of development by Patrick Okibo, a member of the Presidential Economic Committee. May I invite to do this presentation his representative, Dr. Charles Achodo of the International Development Specialization. He's an International Development Specialist. Please let's put our hands together for him as he steps up to do this presentation. Thank you.
Let me just stand on the existing protocol. I wouldn't want to waste too much time on this presentation. If that is acceptable, let me hear yes from the House. Thank you very much. Now, we are making a presentation on the Niger Delta strategy. The former president in the former administration mentioned that there is a need for a single development strategy that should drive the development process in the Niger Delta. That was not done throughout the lifetime of that administration. And this new administration came in under the leadership of the new MDs of NDDC and the ministry. A new strategy has been developed. In the past, we had the action plan, which somebody says is an action plan without an action. We had a master plan, which somebody funny said it's a master plan without a master. So we all laughed over some of those comments. But the key thing is that there were many plans in the region, and the government felt that there should be one single development strategy for the region where all stakeholders will buy in and begin to drive the development process. And that's one of the reasons why we're looking at this. I will take a very brief moment to basically come up and we start discussing this. There will be a breakout session in which the 7 pillars will be discussed, and that's where substantial contribution and input will be expected from all the stakeholders on this platform. Thank you very much. So the strategy basically has a clearly defined set of objectives. And the objective is clearly, or vision is clearly looking at how to basically develop the region and ensure that certain issues that is happening in the region are addressed. Somebody did mention about a conflict. Each time I hear the Niger Delta conflict, I say there is no conflict in the Niger Delta. The people are fighting nobody. Let's be honest about it. What you have in the Delta is discontent. So there is discontent associated with the environment. There is discontent associated with lack of development. There is discontent when it comes to resource allocation. There is discontent on several other issues. Now, when you understand it within that framework, what that does is that the instrument of intervention changes. But when you look at it as a conflict, the instrument and the tools you're using are instruments that are used to address conflict, and that is not acceptable. So we are looking at it in terms of discontent issues, and we laid out essentially what the focus should be. Without wasting your time, it is planned that this particular instrument will basically have a clearly defined overall objectives and clearly defined policy guidelines and a set of development strategies that will respond to the development challenges in the Niger Delta. It looked at the various plans that were in existence and asked questions as to why there were challenges in delivering development results. Some other issues were identified. Instead of focusing on projects, we build 10 schools, we build this, we build that. Let's focus on results. What are the results we intend to achieve? What are the impacts we're measuring? If I build a school or if I do an infrastructure, how many people in the health sector, how has that enhanced the health of the population we're serving? So by focusing on results, you deliver better results. But when you focus on projects, you have multiplicities of projects here and there. And that's some of the challenges we have. A series of duplications of projects and all sorts of things that happened in the Niger Delta. The idea of having a joint work planning process for the various agencies that are working there so that you harmonize your responses and ensure that you are delivering on the basis of your mandate and on the basis of clearly defined benchmarks and results, that makes much sense, as opposed to having individuals who basically come in and do anything they want to do. EU is doing a lot of programs, World Bank is doing, UNDP is doing, NDDC is doing, the states are doing, local, everybody is doing. The Niger Delta automatically becomes, if you look at this scenario, I normally tell people it's like a jazz session practice. Everybody is knocking and knocking and knocking and knocking, and you're hearing all kinds of discordant tones. But we want to move into a symphony where you have a conductor orchestrating the development process in the region. And that's why we have this strategy. Thank you. So there will be cases of joint work planning where the work plan will become a compact between the agencies of the federal government and the people of the region. In other words, you come up and you say, these are what we're going to deliver, and the people in the region will agree with you that those things you have identified reflect our development priorities. No longer will people just bring in projects that doesn't reflect the development priorities of the people. So joint work planning process will be part of it. Joint needs assessment will be part of it. So having said that, we laid out certain policy guidelines and we looked at previous projects and previous policies or plans that were there and why the shortfalls. I don't want to call failure. I don't want to use the word failure because there are certain achievements that have been done in the past. We have to recognize them, but we need to do more. And we look at the challenges. It's in terms of policy, budget inefficiency, poor implementation coordination issues that has to do with lack of stakeholder inclusion, and issues that has to do with development contracting. In other words, you don't do development by contracts. Contracts does not define your development. What defines your development outcome is the results you have achieved. So that's some of the changes we have made with regard to the new strategy. There are lessons that were learned, such as issues that has to do with leadership, issues that has to do with the culture of implementation. In fact, there is no problem in Nigeria with ideas, but there is always a problem with implementation. And because we don't have that culture of sustained implementation, then we have problems with how do we do our strategies. Joint work planning is one of the things you mentioned. Looking at the government institutions, how do you position governance institutions? They become fit for purpose. Is NDDC configured in a way that it becomes fit for purpose? Is the Ministry of Niger Delta configured in a way that it becomes fit for purpose? We need to look at, the strategy looked at some of these issues and made certain recommendations. And I thank the leadership for giving that space for that to happen. There are issues that has to do with project identifications, performance. We looked into it, and we looked in terms of how do you earmark funding for long-term projects. If you notice, most of the abandoned projects are projects that are long-term, and they require long-term funding. You use short-term source of funding, and you make a commitment for a long-term project. The result is that you have an abandoned road, you have all kinds of abandoned infrastructure that are not fully funded. So how do you begin to earmark resources to make sure we stop those kind of things from happening so that every project we have is completely done? So the vision is clear. It is to accelerate sustainable development of the Niger Delta region by promoting improvement in the well-being of the people. Well-being means investment in the people. It's not just about the infrastructure. Transforming the region to be economically prosperous. In other words, it has to look at the economic dynamics of the region and how we can grow it. If oil dries up, what is the benefit the region will say we have gotten from having oil? We said we'll look at how to make the region prosperous, how to make it politically peaceful as a precondition for development, and how to make it socially stable, and of course, ecologically regenerative. These are very heavy words, but we can unpack them during the breakout sessions. My job is just to introduce it and stimulate some thinking around the people. We laid out certain issues, certain principles, and certain visions. We broke those visions down, and during the breakout sessions, some of you who are better in this area can help us trash out some of the issues. We also went further to say, okay, let's look at the 7 pillars. Having laid the results, what are the 7 pillars and how will these 7 pillars respond to those results? Some of the results we used are tied to the SDG, which is common to all of us here. And we say, let's benchmark them and let's have regional targets on them. That's basically what we have done. So there are 7 platforms or 7 pillars on which the strategy is based on. One is economic development, and it has something to do with oil and gas, solid minerals, for which this region has, but nobody talks about it. ICT, connectivity issues, private sector financing, commerce, MSMEs, small enterprise development, industrialization. One of the challenges is that this region has been significantly deindustrialized. And it is the deindustrialization of the region that has created a lot of unemployment and that has created a lot of challenges we have. So we are looking at some of these issues. How do we look at regional connectivity? How do we promote regional industries? And how do we deal with agriculture, fishery, and aquaculture? All these elements, how do we get them to stimulate economic growth in the region? The next pillar is human resources and capital development, or we can call it social development, basically. It is investment made in education, health sector, water and sanitation, issues that has to do with women, who are in most cases neglected in the region when we talk, youth restiveness, and of course, issues that has to do with sports, creative industry. The region is endowed with all these capacities, and we need to stimulate them. You look at issues that has to do with hospitality and tourism. Actually, we put it under social, but it's an economic enterprise. So all these things are linked together. The third pillar is infrastructure. How do we create the essential infrastructure that will drive development? And infrastructure is an enabler of development, and we need it, and we need to focus on it. Regional connectivities, for instance, building roads that connect all the regions, making transportation in any of the regions nothing more than 1 hour or 1 hour 30 minutes you are there to deliver. That's essentially very important element to look at. We look at power, we look at housing, we look at urban and rural planning and issues of growth hub development. How do you identify certain hubs that will form the basis of development? We're going to look at environmental issues. Environmental development is critical. The region has been so very much degraded as a result of the oil industry and other things. Flooding is an issue, erosion is an issue, coastal line is being eroded. How do we address all these issues? Security, law and order, or law and enforcement are also elements we are looked into, because these are preconditions for doing development. If you don't have security, if you don't have stability, the landscape for your development action, it's very fluid, and that makes it difficult. We don't want a situation where oil companies are saying we're relocating in Lagos. We have head office in this place. No. We want them back. And to get them back, we need to stabilize the region and make sure that it is safe. That's some of the issues. We mentioned some of the elements, and it will be discussed there. Governance is another issue. You can have a good strategy, but if your institutional governance systems and processes are weak, then you are as much as I can say, close to failure. So we need to see how to retool and reinforce the existing capacities and make them more effective in delivering development results. We're also looking at issues that has to do with financing. How do we, some people talked about money that is being owed and all those kind of things. How do we make sure that we mobilize not only additional resources, but at the same time, the existing ones that we have that are available, how do we justify and make sure that we're not owned again? And how do we plan properly? And how do we explore other sources of raising money to develop this region? The region is endowed, and the region must be developed. The region has everything that it takes to become a first-class region. It should be a region that should actually be the beacon of development in this country. And I don't see why it should be lacking. So we need to reinforce our resolve, and we need to reinforce our institutions, and we need to get our people energized, and we need to begin to get things done. We need to pull off our sleeves, and we need to work hard to deliver. This is what this strategy is all about. And during these sessions, I don't want to take time on this, we will be calling on every person here that this is an opportunity for you to make your input. Is that clear? Have I finished? Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Have a great afternoon.
It has been an engaging conversation here at the Niger Delta Stakeholders Summit. And of course, the issues of how to drive development in the region away from the past experiences, harnessing the views of stakeholders on how to transform the region in line with the renewed hope agenda has been the focus of this conversation. It is at this point that we will be rejoining our network service to bring you other scheduled programs. On behalf of the outside broadcast crew, I'm Kingsley Amajiri. Good afternoon.